To Big Lou tapping back in, but what it do with Big Lou NFC2, baby, baby. This is the first time you're coming to the channel. We highly appreciate it if you sub, like, and share the channel with your family, friends, folks, peoples, gente, camaradas, comrades, buddies, pals, amigos, panas, amigos. And also, feel free to leave comments. I respond back to all the comments. Sorry about that. Fell asleep. And just woke up to the alarm going off about 20 minutes ago. So I had to reset the time. And here I am. It's 3:35 almost in the morning. Monday morning. Welcome back to work. Everybody, enjoy yourself. Be safe. Traveling to work. Yada, yada, yada. Give me 1 second. So as you can see from that thumbnail, this is going to be my first boxing profile. Right? I've already done 5 profiles on baseball players. I've done six profiles on basketball players. I did 4 football players, and I've done 2 wrestlers, the Road Warriors, but I also done the 4 Horsemen. So I guess you can maybe count them somewhat as a profile, but this is my for sure my first boxing. And as you can see, it's the greatest Latino boxer of all time, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., and one of the greatest Puerto Rican boxers of all time, Hector Macho Camacho Sr. At this time when they fought, I would say that, give me a second. I would say, excuse me. I would say that, just taking a guess right here, but definitely he was undefeated, right? Chavez Sr. was undefeated at the time. He probably had about 80 wins at the time. Yeah, easily he had about 80 wins at the time when he fought Hector Macho Camacho. Hector Macho Camacho also was undefeated. Nowhere near the amount of victories that Camacho had, though, at that time. I'll tell you right now, because he finished with the 100. What do you have? 107 wins, I believe. He finished with 107 wins, 6 losses, and 2 draws. I believe the 2 draws were one against Pernell Whitaker, and I think the other one was, I believe it was Gonzalez. And he's been in there with some beasts. It was the 82nd fight when he beat Camacho. It was a unanimous decision in 1992. So I knew he had at least 80 wins. And at the time, it was for the WBC light. It was for the junior welterweight title. So that was 140 pounds. But these guys started at, I want to say they started at either lightweight 135 or might have been even junior lightweight. That both these guys started at. No, I take that back. I think he was a super featherweight when he started. Chavez Senior, but he's fought some big name people. He's fought Roger Mayweather. Camacho's fought Mayweather, Roger Mayweather, which Roger Mayweather used to go into the ring with sombrero on. So he beat Ruben Castillo, Roger Mayweather, Rocky Lockridge, Juan Laporte, Edwin Rosario, Rafael Limon, Jose Luis Ramirez, Roger Mayweather. He beat Roger Mayweather twice. Sammy Fuentes, he beat. Mildred Taylor, he beat. Lonnie Smith, he beat. Hector Camacho, like I already said. Greg Haugen. Now, Greg Haugen was talking a lot of crap about Camacho because at the time, Camacho was fighting like 6-8 times a year. And Greg Haugen starts talking shit like, oh, everybody must be taxi drivers, blah, blah, blah. So he gets in the ring, and Camacho just whoops his ass. 5th round, TKO, stop it. He's got the draw with Pernell Whitaker and 2 losses to Frankie Randall. And he finally lost his first fight on his 90th fight. Actually, his 91st fight, excuse me. He lost to Frankie Randall, and he lost his WBC junior welterweight title. And then he came right back 4 months later, and beat Frankie Randall. I think they fought. I think they fought 3 times, him and Frankie Randall. Tony Lopez, he beat. Mildred Taylor twice. Giovanni Parisi, David Kamau, and then he lost to De La Hoya. Beat Joey Gamache. He got a draw with Miguel Angel Gonzalez. Another loss to De La Hoya. He lost to Willie Wise. He lost to Casazoo. Then he beat Willie Wise and beat Frankie Randall. So he's 2-1 against Frankie Randall. He beat Ivan Robinson. And like I said, he's got a 115 fight total with 107 wins, 6 losses. He's got 86 wins by knockout, 21 wins by decision. The 6 losses are 4 by knockout, 2 by decision. I believe the ones he got knocked out was Randall and Casazoo. And even the De La Hoya losses were stoppages. You know, the ref jumped in and stopped it. So we'll give a little background. Chavez Sr. was born July 12, 1962. So he's 59 years old. He's 60 years old, excuse me. He's out of Culiacan, Sinaloa, Mexico, right? He fought professionally from 1980 to 2005. He's a multiple-time world champion in 3 weight classes. He's listed. He's ranked by the Ring magazine as the world's best boxer, pound for pound, from 1990 to 93. Also, a lot of people have it's between Roberto Duran, Panamanian boxer, and Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. as the greatest Latino boxers of all time. So he's held the WBC super featherweight title. That was from 84 to 87. The WBA and WBC lightweight titles from between 87 and 89, excuse me. The WBC light junior welterweight title twice between 89 and 96, and the IBF junior welterweight title from 90 to 91. He also held the Ring magazine and lineal lightweight titles from 88 to 89, and the lineal junior welterweight title twice between 90 and 96. He was also named the Fighter of the Year from 1987 and 1990 by Boxing Writers Association of America and The Ring, respectively. So his real name is Julio Cesar Chavez Gonzalez. Nicknames: JC Superstar, El Cesar de Boxeo, the Caesar of Boxing, El Gran Campeón Mexicano, the Great Mexican Champ, Mr. KO, and also El León de Culiacán, the Lion of Culiacán. He fought super featherweight, lightweight, junior welterweight, and welterweight. 5'7.5", 68-inch reach, orthodox stance. Here's a little background, also more background on him. He holds records for the most total successful defenses of world titles, 27, shared with Omar Narvaez. Most title fight victories and fighters beaten for the title, both at 31, and most title fights, 37. He has the second most title defenses won by knockout, 21, after right behind Joe Louis's 23. His fight record was 89-0 and 1 draw before his first professional loss to Frankie Randall in 1994. And I remember that. That was one of the big upsets in boxing history, before which he had an 87-fight win streak until his draw with Pernell Whitaker in 93. Now, a lot of people believe that Pernell Whitaker won that fight in 1993, and he was robbed over Chavez, right? And also the Meldrick Taylor fight, they believe that Meldrick won that first one, and then the second one, I believe it was prematurely stopped. A lot of people felt in '93 with that win over Greg Haugen at Estadio Azteca, set the record for the largest attendance for an outdoor boxing match with 136,274 attendees. He is ranked as the 17th best boxer of all time, pound for pound, by BoxRec. Number 24 on ESPN's list of 50 greatest boxers of all time. And 18th on The Ring's 80 best fighters of the last 80 years. In 2010, he was inducted to the International Boxing Hall of Fame for the class of 2011, and he is the father of current boxers Omar Chavez and former WBC middleweight champion Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Definitely one of the greatest fighters ever, not to mention Latino, but just one of the greatest fighters ever. 89 in his 91st fight, he finally lost. 89-0-1. So, like I said, he's born in July 12, 1962. This is actually, I thought he was from Culiacán, Sinaloa, but apparently he's born in Ciudad Obregón, Sonora, Mexico. So that's a whole nother state. His father, Rodolfo Chavez, worked for the railroad, and Julio grew up in an abandoned railroad car with his 5 sisters and 4 brothers. Chavez came from a poor family and became a boxer for money, he stated. I saw my mom working, ironing, and washing people's clothes, and I promised her I would give her a house someday, and she would never have that job again. He began boxing as an amateur at the age of 16, and then he moved to Tijuana to pursue a professional career. Edwin Jimenez. Chavez made his professional debut at age 17. In his 12th fight on March 4, 1980, Chavez faced Miguel Ruiz in Culiacán, Sinaloa. At the end of the first round, Chavez landed a blow that knocked Ruiz out. Delivered as the bell sounded, the blow was ruled a disqualification in the ring, and Ruiz was declared the winner. The next day, however, his manager, Ramon Felix, consulted with the Mexican Boxing Commission, and after further review, the result was overturned and Chavez was declared the winner. Wow, imagine that. Chavez won his first championship, the vacant WBC super featherweight title, on September 13, 1984, by knocking out fellow Mexican Mario Azabache Martinez at the Grand Olympic Auditorium in LA. Martinez had been the betting favorite in the bout, due partly to his previous victory over former WBC world champion Rolando Navarrete in a non-title bout. On April 1985, Chavez defended his title against number 1 ranked contender Ruben Castillo, 63 wins, 4 losses, 2 knockouts. 63 wins, 4 losses, 2 draws by knocking him out in the 6th round. On July 7th, 85, Chavez defeated former and future champion Roger Mayweather, that's Floyd Mayweather's uncle, via a second round knockout. And this, remember, I had mentioned that Mayweather would go in there with a sombrero because he was known to beat Mexican fighters. So Chavez won a 12-round majority decision over former WBA and future IBF super featherweight champion Rocky Lockridge in Monte Carlo. In his next bout, he defeated former champion Juan Laporte, who was another Puerto Rican fighter, by 12-round unanimous decision. On March 18, 1987, he defeated number 1 ranked challenger Francisco Tomás da Cruz, 27 wins, 1 loss by 3rd round knockout. He successfully defended his WBC super featherweight title a total of 9 times. Then he moved up to lightweight in November of 87 and faced WBA lightweight champ Edwin Rosario, another Puerto Rican, one of the Puerto Rican greats. Prior to the bout, there were concerns about how Chavez would handle the move up in weight. Chavez commented, "Everything I've accomplished as champion in the 9 title defenses would be thrown away with a loss to Rosario." The 2 fighters nearly exchanged blows during a press conference after Rosario threatened to send Chavez back to Mexico in a coffin. Chavez would ultimately give a career-defining performance as he defeated Rosario 11th round TKO to win the title. HBO punch stats showed Rosario landing 263 of 731 punches thrown in the fight, which was 36%, and Chavez threw 743 and landed 450 for 61%. Wow, that's awesome numbers. After the bout, Sports Illustrated ran the headline, "Time to Hail Caesar. WBA lightweight champion Cesar Chavez of Mexico may be the world's best fighter." So they were calling him that in 87 already. He almost had 20 more years to fight. In April of 88, Chavez defeated number 1 ranked contender Rodolfo Aguilar, 20 wins, 21-0 by 6-round technical knockout. And then he defeated former 2-time champion Rafael Limon by scoring a 7th round TKO. Later on, he unified WBA and the WBC belts by a technical decision over champion Jose Luis Ramirez with the accidental headbutt opened a cut on Ramirez's forehead. The doctors halted the fight, sending the decision to the judges' scorecards. And Chavez was ahead on all scorecards and was declared the winner. He also was awarded and picked up the ring lightweight title. After that victory, Chavez then he went ahead and vacated his WBA and WBC lightweight titles in order to move up to super lightweight division. So I guess that's the same as super lightweight is the same as junior welterweight. And then in his next fight, he beat WBC light welterweight title by beating Roger Mayweather for the 2nd time. Mayweather did not come out of his corner after the 10th round, and that gave Chavez a TKO win. In 89, he defeated future champion Sammy Fuentes by 10th round TKO. And then he handed Alberto de la Mercedes Cortez 44-0, his first career loss, by scoring a 3rd round knockout. And then then the next fight he faced Meldrick Taylor, the undefeated IBF junior welterweight champion, in a unification bout. They say Taylor. Well, they not only do they say, I watched it and first as a kid, you know what I mean. Then I watched it again later on, and again not too long back. And boxing, Taylor was giving him somewhat of a boxing lesson, and but the last 4 rounds of the fight, Chavez, rallied back, and anybody knows anything about Chavez, he was a body punch. He liked to hit people in the body. He was known to drop guys, body shots, knock them out with body shots. And, he worked his way back into the fight the last 4 rounds. And then he hit, with about 30 seconds left in the fight, he landed a hard punch, like straight right to the chin of Taylor, and that hurt him badly. And then he ended up dropping him. Taylor was a former gold medalist, and he dropped him. And Taylor rose at the referee's count of 6, but he failed to respond coherently, and Richard still stopped the fight. And it was at that time, the fight was close to be over. The bell was shortly going to ring. That's where that comes into play, right? The questionable stoppage. But they're supposed to watch for the fighter's safety too. So if you're not responding, like with Anthony Joshua, the ref was telling him come forward, come. He wasn't responding. He stopped it. So like I said, many boxing fans and members of the media were outraged and still would stop a match. A unification bout, championship fight. And even though he was dropped, a lot of people felt that he was winning. And there was only a couple. If I remember correctly, the bell was going to ring in about 4 or 5 seconds, something like that. And he stopped it, and he had to be aware how much time was left, because at 10 seconds they hit that bell, or that they make that noise, the blocks, right? So he shouldn't have stopped it. It was premature. He stuck to his guns. He said, if I see a fighter that had enough, I'm going to stop it. You know what I mean? But the Ring magazine named that fight the fight of the year for 1990, and then later the fight of the decade for the 90s. So a lot of people were hoping for a rematch, immediate rematch between Meldrick Taylor and Chavez. But Taylor ended up moving up in his weight class his next bout, and the fighters did not meet again until 1994. So 4 years later, when Chavez dominated and knocked out a faded Taylor in 8 rounds. After unifying the titles, Chavez engaged in a busy series of title defenses and non-title fights. On December 8, 1990, he defeated the WBC mandatory challenger by 3rd round knockout. And then he fought some other guys that weren't mandatory. And then September 12, 1992, it's the fight of the thumbnail. Chavez faced WBO light welterweight champion Hector Macho Camacho, who was, I take that back. I forgot. He wasn't undefeated. He had 1 loss. He was 41-1-0 with 18 knockouts. And this was a highly anticipated bout. Obviously, Chavez represented Mexico and Camacho represented Puerto Rico. It's been a huge rivalry in boxing. When a Mexican fighter from Mexico or a Mexican American fighter fights a fighter from Puerto Rico or Puerto Rican descent, it's probably the biggest rivalry in boxing. But Chavez dominated Camacho the whole fight, and he won by unanimous decision. All 3 judges scored for him: 117, 111, 119, 110, and 120, 107. And he hit Camacho with everything but the kitchen sink. And I will give it up to Camacho. He did not go down. Matter of fact, he's never been down in his whole career. And it is what it is. And then he fought 93. He fought Greg Haugen. Like I said, Greg Haugen was talking a lot of shit, right? He was talking shit about his 82 fight unbeaten streak as consistently mostly of Tijuana taxi drivers, and that mother could have knocked out, and insisting that there aren't 130 Mexicans who could afford tickets to see the fight in Estadio Azteca. So Chavez responded by saying, "I really hate him bad," when he looks at me, I want to vomit. I'm going to give him the worst beating of his life. I'm going to make him swallow the words that came out of his dirty mouth. So, like I said, it's a record for the most attendees in the outdoor event with 136,274 that came to watch the fight. These people seen live Chavez drop Haugen quickly and then back off with the apparent intention of punishing him for his pre-fight remarks. But the ref seen enough by the 5th round and stopped it. After the fight, Chavez commented to Haugen, "Now you know I don't fight with taxi drivers." And a bloody Haugen responded, "They must have been tough taxi drivers." Later that year, Chavez scored a 2nd round TKO victory over number 1 ranked contender Terrence Ali. After a division record 18 consecutive defenses of his junior welterweight title, Chavez 87-0 moved up one more weight class to challenge Pernell Whitaker 32-1 for his WBC welterweight title in September of '93. Since the late '80s, Chavez stated several times that he wanted a fight against Whitaker. The Whitaker team, among them Lou Duva, told Ring magazine that they did not want a fight against Chavez in those days. In the eyes of many experts, Whitaker waited for Chavez to age. The result of the fight was a controversial majority draw, allowing Chavez to remain unbeaten, with Whitaker retaining his title. Various members of the American media, including the Ring and Sports Illustrated, were critical of the decision. Sports Illustrated put Pernell Whitaker on the cover of its next magazine with a one-word title, "Rob." Chavez stated after the fight, "I felt I was forcing the fight. He just kept holding me too much. He was throwing too many low blows too. There was no rematch." Chavez continued defending his junior welterweight title, and on December 18, '93, he defeated British Commonwealth light junior welterweight champion Andy Holligan. The next, Chavez faced Frankie Randall in a fight that was expected him to win easily. Instead, Randall knocked him down for the first time in his career and went on to win a split decision. Chavez lost the title to Randall. Chavez blamed his loss on referee Richard Steele, who deducted 2 points from Chavez for low blows, which affected the difference on the scorecards. The WBC ordered an immediate rematch, and Chavez regained the title on a split technical decision in May of '94. And then they faced again in the rubber match 10 years later, which Chavez won. Chavez then fought Mildred Taylor in a rematch 4 years after their historic first fight. He defeated him in 8 rounds by a knockout that sent Taylor from one side of the ring to the other. And then in his next bout, he defeated 3-time champion Tony the Tiger Lopez, who I met. He came to my school when I was 7th grade. And then in '95, he defeated former and future lightweight champion Giovanni Parisi. And then in '96, he faced the Golden Boy himself, De La Hoya, who I believe at the time he was the WBC welterweight champ because he took Pernell Whitaker's belt. And Chavez just De La Hoya whooped him bad, where they had to stop the fight because the doctor stopped it because he was bleeding a lot. He was bleeding bad. Then he defeated Joey Gamache in his 100th bout. And then he had a draw with Miguel Angel Gonzalez for the vacant WBC junior welterweight title. That fight ended in a rematch with De La Hoya for the WBC welterweight belt in '98. And then he retired after a few more fights here and there. With the record of, like I said, 107, 6-2. He's definitely Chavez Sr. is definitely on my pound for pound list. He's definitely in the top 10. I got Sugar Ray Robinson as the pound for pound king in my book. And I have Chavez and Sugar Ray Robinson over uh, Floyd Mayweather, just because of the fact that I think Sugar Ray Robinson won like 40 fights and then lost somewhere in the 40s and lost, and then he went on like an 80 fight win streak. You know what I mean? I believe he stood at middleweight his whole career, and then Chavez was 89 fights, 89 wins before his loss. 89 0-1, and then he lost a fight. You know what I mean? And so Camacho was born Hector Luis Camacho Matias, May 24, 1962, and he passed away on November 24, 2012, commonly known by his nickname Macho Camacho, Macho Time, he used to say a lot. Puerto Rican professional boxer. He's known for his quickness in the ring and flamboyant style. He fought professionally from 80 also to 2010. So him and Chavez started the same year, and he went 5 years longer than Chavez. Obviously, probably money issues, I would imagine. He was a world champion in 3 weight classes. He held the WBC super featherweight title from 83 to 84, the WBC lightweight title from 85 to 87, and the WBO junior welterweight title twice between 89 and 92. So he fought super featherweight, lightweight, junior welterweight, junior middleweight, and super middleweight. 5'7" with a 67-inch reach. He's born in Bayamon, Puerto Rico, and he died in San Juan at the age of 50. He was a southpaw, and his record was 79 wins, 88 total fights, 79 wins, 38 by knockout, 6 losses, and 3 draws. In a storied amateur career, Camacho won 3 New York Golden Glove tournaments, beginning with the sub-novice 112-pound championship in 1978. During his professional career, Camacho had many notable fights against some of the biggest names in boxing, defeating Roberto Duran twice in Duran's career, late in his career, knocking out Sugar Ray Leonard, sent him into permanent retirement. He also fought Julio Cesar Chavez, Felix Trinidad, and Oscar De La Hoya, among others. During his later years, Camacho expanded his popular role and appeared on a variety of Spanish-language reality television shows, including Univision's dancing show Mira Quien Baila, a weekly segment on the popular show El Gordo y la Flaca, named Macho News. However, he also had much publicized troubles with drug abuse and criminal charges. In 2005, Camacho was arrested for burglary, a charge to which he would later plead guilty. In 2011, he was shot at 3 times by would-be carjackers in San Juan, but was uninjured. In late 2012, Camacho was awaiting trial in Florida on charges of physical abuse of one of his sons. In November of 2012, Camacho was shot and seriously wounded while sitting in a car outside a bar in his native Bayamon. The driver, a childhood friend, was killed in the shooting. Camacho died 4 days later after he was declared clinically brain dead. His mother requested the doctors remove him from life support. After lying in repose for 2 days in Santurce, Camacho's remains were transported to New York for burial at the request of his mother. So we'll give a little background, right? Camacho was born in Bayamon to Hector Luis Camacho Sr. and his wife, Maria Matias. He was the second oldest of 5 kids, which included a younger brother, Felix, and sisters Raquel, Estrella, and Esperanza. He was 3 when his parents separated and his mother took the children with her to New York City. They lived in the James Weldon Johnson housing project in Spanish Harlem. Camacho attended local schools and ran into trouble as a teen, getting into street fights and landing in jail at 15. Pat Flannery, a teacher, helped the youth, teaching him to read and acting like a father figure. When Camacho learned how to box and karate as a teenager, Flannery guided him to the Golden Gloves competition. So I already mentioned about his, he had a long history. He won 3 New York Golden Glove championships, 78 at 112 pounds, 79 at 118 pounds, and 80 at 119 pounds. He fought in the Yonkers Police Athletic League in the finals to win the title. He defeated Paul Divorce. So his nickname in the amateurs, he was 96-4, 100 fights. His nickname Macho has been explained a few different ways, and according to his father, he gave him the nickname because he was his youngest son. His mentor Pat is the one who gave him the nickname during the teens, and according to Camacho himself, the nickname came as a result of American co-workers at a factory who couldn't pronounce his last name. So I guess it's whoever you want to believe, right? Okay. After a stellar amateur career, Camacho began a quick rise through the professional rankings, first in the featherweight division and then in the junior lightweight division. He was so confident that he claimed he could beat world featherweight champions Salvador Sanchez and Pedroza. However, Sanchez died while Camacho was still coming up in the ranks. In junior lightweight division, he defeated top contenders Cubanito Perez, Melvin Paul, John Montez, and Rufio Rojas. When the world junior lightweight champion Bobby Chacon refused to go to Puerto Rico to defend his title against Camacho, the WBC declared the world championship vacant. Rafael had been defeated and lost the championship to Chacon, fought Camacho for the vacant title. It was the first time Camacho was in a ring with a former world champion. He scored a knockdown on Limon late in the third round and twice more in the fifth round before the referee stopped it. You're talking about his mom, right? He met Edwin. Camacho also fought his first defense in Puerto Rico and San Juan, where he met Rafael Solis, another Puerto Rican. He knocked out Solis with the right to the chin in the fifth round to retain his title. Then he moved up to lightweight and he won the USBA title against Roque Montoya with the 12-round decision. His victory in the next fight, broadcast on Home Box Office HBO, made him a two-time world champion. Camacho beat the Mexican defending world title, Jose Luis Ramirez, in Las Vegas to win the WBC World Lightweight Championship. Camacho dropped Ramirez in round 3 and won the fight by unanimous 12-round decision. The two other reigning world champions in his division at the time, Livingston Bramble and Jimmy Paul, were reluctant to unify the crown with Camacho. Instead, he beat Freddie Roach before his next fight of importance came along 10 months after beating Ramirez. So Freddie Roach is Pacquiao's trainer. And then he met Edwin Chapo Rosario on June 13, 1986 in Madison Square Garden. A bout also broadcast on HBO. The fight was notable for the shifts of dominance between the men. Camacho dominated rounds 1 through 4, but had to hang on in rounds 5, 6, and 7 when he felt Rosario's power. He came back to take rounds 8 and 9, but Rosario came back to take the last 3 rounds. And he won in a split decision, Camacho. But it said that during that fight with Rosario, that Camacho changed his fight game after that. You know, Rosario must have hit him hard because he started fighting more from the outside after that fight. And then the next fight, he retained his title against Cornelius Bosa Edwards, a former junior lightweight champion in Miami in an unanimous decision after dropping him in the first round. And then he moved up to junior welterweight, which is 140. And he met up in weight and competed at the next level. After a few fights there, he met Boom Boom Mancini, the former world lightweight champion who had a record of 29 wins, 3 losses with 23 knockouts for the vacant WBO junior welterweight title. Camacho was the fresher of the two and won a split 12-round decision. He joined the exclusive group of world champion boxers who had world championships in 3 weight divisions. His next fight, he fought the Tasmanian Devil, Vinny Pazienza, whom he defeated on points. Then he fought Tony Baltazar from Phoenix. He defeated Baltazar. And then his undefeated streak came to an end when he lost to Greg Haugen. And then they fought again, and he took his title back by beating Haugen in the split decision. And then 92 was the fight with Chavez, right? We already talked about that one. And then in 92, he had some other notable fights, including 2 victories by points over Roberto Duran, one in Atlantic City, the other in Denver. And in 97, he knocked out Sugar Ray Leonard in 5 rounds. This loss sent the 41-year-old Leonard into permanent retirement because if anybody remembers, Sugar Ray Leonard would retire and he would come back and fight. Obviously, it had to be probably for money. That was his 3rd comeback when Camacho beat him, right? And then he went up to welterweight, and he fought for the world championship against Felix Trinidad for the IBF and IDBF welterweight title in '94, and the WBC welterweight title in '97. But he lost both matches by unanimous decisions. Again, De La Hoya and Trinidad just whooped him for the whole fight. But again, he stood on his feet. He's one of those boxers, Camacho, that he would do whatever he had to do to survive. You know what I mean? And then in December of '03, Camacho faced Craig Houck. It was an odd fight as Houck continuously turned his back on Camacho throughout the fight. And Camacho had Houck in trouble in the first round before Houck caught an overzealous Camacho with a left hook and floored him. The 3rd knockdown against him in his career. Camacho bounced back up and battered Houck. Oh, that's I forgot about that fight. And then Camacho returned to boxing in '08, competing against Perry Ballard for the World Boxing Empire's middleweight championship. The fight lasted 7 rounds. Camacho won when Ballard's corner threw the towel in. Before this fight, Camacho was trained by Angelo Dundee. His last 2 fights resulted in a draw and a loss against Luis Ramon Campas and Saul Duran, respectively. His last fight against Duran was on May 14, 2010. And I'm not even going to talk about any of his troubles. But Yuri Boy Campas was a good fighter that he lost to. His second to last fight. At one point, he was like 50-something and 0. You know what I mean? So here's some of the notable fights that he were in with people. Roberto Duran, he beat. Roberto Duran, he lost to De La Hoya. He beat Sugar Ray Leonard. He beat Duran twice. Todd Foster, he beat. He lost to Trinidad. He lost to Chavez Sr. He beat Greg Haugen. He lost to Greg Haugen. He beat Tony Baltazar. He beat Vinny Pazienza. He beat Ray Mancini, Boom Boom Mancini. He beat Howard Davis Jr. He beat Cornelius Boza Edwards. He beat Edwin Rosario. He beat Freddie Roach. He beat Jose Luis Ramirez. Rafael Solis. Rafael Limon. So he had a good career, long career. Unfortunately for him, he had to come back a few times because of money issues and stuff like that. But again, 88 total fights with 79 wins, 6 losses, and 3 draws. And even the fight with Yuri Boy Campas, it was a draw. By that time, he was already close to 50. He was 49 years old. You know what I mean? And Yuri Boy Campos was a beast at one point. He held the IBF middleweight title from 97 to 98. And he had a total of 127 fights, 107 wins, and 17 losses. But at the time, I remember at the time when he fought Trinidad, Oh, you know what, too? He fought his back-to-back fights were against Hector Camacho Jr. No, the Yankees lost. Edwin, they're out. So it's good. It's the World Series is Houston Astros against the Philadelphia Phillies on Tuesday. Game one's on Tuesday, the 1st of November. Not this Tuesday, not tomorrow, but the week Tuesday after. I did a little short on that, announcing that. But when he fought, I just seen right now that he fought. He had 2 back-to-back fights. He lost against Camacho Jr. and he had a draw against Camacho Sr. And then he lost against De La Hoya. He beat Tony Ayala Jr. He lost to Oberkar, lost to Fernando Vargas. He beat Larry Barnes. He beat Pedro Ortega. He beat Raul Marquez. He lost to Jose Luis Lopez. Let me see. When he fought, and he lost to De La Hoya. Trinidad. So Trinidad gave him his first loss. It was his 56. He was 56-0 when he fought Trinidad. And Trinidad gave him his first loss. So he damn near doubled, or he did double. He doubled those fights, his amount of fights. Let me see. 56, and he was 56. He was 56-0 when he fought Trinidad in 1994. And then by the time he finished his career in 2019, he fought another, what would that be? 72 fights. Another 72 fights in 23 years. Damn, that's a lot of fights. So he ended up finishing with 108 wins and 17 losses. So his first 56 fights, he was 56-0. That's crazy. That just shows, I guess, that he needed the money, right? He must have needed money. I mean, what else? What else would prompt you to continue to fight like that? You know what I mean? I don't understand that. But as you can see too from the thumbnail the thumbnail of this video, it's September 12th, sábado, 12 de septiembre, right? That means Saturday, September 12th. El WBC, that means WBC Super Middleweight Championship, 12 rounds. That was a different fight, not this one. And it says Julio Cesar contra Hector Macho Camacho. And in the background, you can see the Puerto Rican flag behind Camacho and the Mexican flag behind Chavez. And like I mentioned, it's always been a big rivalry in boxing. The country of Mexico against the island of Puerto Rico. You know what I mean? And we've had a lot of fights over the years. That one, Gomez and Sanchez, Benitez and Duran. Well, Duran's Panamanian. Chavez and Trinidad, Cotto and Canelo. This has been a lot over the years. And Camacho, Camacho is one of the greatest boxers. I mean, he's on the top probably 100 list, I would imagine. 120 list maybe. Puerto Rican wise, he's definitely one of the greats, but there's no way that he's over Trinidad, over Cotto, over Gomez. And even Benitez has special accomplishment because he's still to this day the youngest ever world champion. 17 years old. He was a WBC welterweight champ, and then later he ended up losing it to Sugar Ray Leonard, and then he lost his junior super welterweight title or junior middleweight title, however you want to call it. It means the same. It's 154 pound. He lost his title to Tommy Hearns. And then Benitez should be, when they talk about the four kings, which is Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, and Hagler, Benitez should be in there, and it should be the five kings. Only one he didn't fight was Hagler, because Hagler was always a middleweight. But he fought Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard, and Duran. He beat Duran, and he lost to the other two. But Chavez Sr. is definitely in the all-time, on the boxing list, the pound for pound, top 10, all-time boxers, greatest boxers. And then when it comes to, like I said, the greatest Latino boxers, everybody usually has number one is either him or Roberto Duran. I even seen some lists where they were both number one. They had them both because they couldn't decide which one was which. Which one was one, which one was two. You know what I mean? But come on, 89 in your 91st fight, you finally lose a bout. You're fighting 6 times, 8 times a year. You know what I mean? 3 weight classes. He has a lot of accomplishments, plus all the defenses that he had and wins by knockouts, title fights, 37 title fights. That's a huge number. You know what I mean? So, both these guys. The only thing I was gonna say was when Camacho won that WBO title, at that time, it was the 3-belt era where the WBO wasn't looked at like a major title. It was the WBC, WBA, and IBF. And the WBO was a title, but it wasn't looked at like a major title. Now it's the 4-belt era where the WBO is looked at like a major title. But nonetheless, I'm not taking nothing from Camacho. I was just stating facts. Because I remember when Nigel Benn had the super middleweight WBO belt, they tried to, they said the same thing. But it's a title. It's a sanctioning body. It's a world title. I'm not going to take nothing from Chavez or from Camacho Sr. at all. Matter of fact, rest in peace. And rest in peace, Hector Sr. Prayers to his family, his kids, his mother. And same thing for Chavez and Chavez Jr. and Omar Chavez, another son of his that fights. And I appreciate Edwin for stopping in, Wendy, and also whoever comes back and watches this video after it's uploaded. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. And also, again, I'm going to say, if you haven't already, sub, like, and share the channel. I got a lot of things in the works with different channels. I'm going to be doing some collabing, and I'm going to start reaching out to people to come on here. I really don't want to say who yet, because if it doesn't fall through, I don't want to, you know what I mean? So when it happens, I'll post it when we get to it. And again, Edwin Jimenez, thanks for stopping in. Bendiciones a ti también y la familia. Ya tú sabes. Qué chévere, qué chévere. Ay, qué chévere, qué chévere. See, what'd you say right here? Rio Honda area, Bayamon, in front of a pub. I know Mrs. Maria many years. She was a client of ours. Very nice lady, down to earth. She still lives in Toa Baja, still strong with good health. So she's still in Puerto Rico, huh? Yeah, I remember when I was in prison when I found out that he got killed. It was around the same time that Jenny Rivera's helicopter crashed. I remember that too. So with that being said, Edwin Jimenez, vaya pay. Te mando mis saludos a la familia, ¿huh? Qué chévere, qué chévere. Gracias a todos ustedes. Thanks to all you guys that have subbed to the channel. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. And with that being said, it's your favorite beanie mofo, fresh off the banana boat, Big Lou, tapping on out. What it do with Big Lou? Baby, baby. I'm out.